Today we are discussing the subject of women's studies, and this is paper number 12, which deals with women in science and technology. This is module 11, which will be taking up the issue of sexual harassment in STEM institutions. I am reading this paper on behalf of Padma Singh, who is convener for the Stree Mukti Sangathan, Allahabad. Now, when we discuss about sexual harassment in STEM institutions, actually we are basing our module much more on experiences than on academic scholarship or some kind of a theoretical or philosophical understanding of sexism in science. The writer has been working as an activist for the last 3 decades for a women's group, and she is also member of the sexual harassment internal complaints committees in 3 institutions in the city of Allahabad. Now, we take 3 case studies here. The module will first take up these 3 case studies from Allahabad, which are from 3 different academic institutions located in the north, east and western parts of the city, and then we will try to address the problems and find solutions for them. The cases are: case 1 is from the science faculty of the Allahabad University, case 2 is from the Harish Chandra Research Institute, HRI, and case 3 is from the Indian Institute of Information and Technology, that is IIIT. Now, when we take case 1 from the science faculty of Allahabad University, this happened in the biochemistry and home science department of the faculty. A senior professor was harassing a BSc home science student in his chamber. The girl came out disturbed and she shared her experience with some of her friends. She found that they were all very agitated and felt that they should not keep quiet about it and they should report the matter immediately. So, collectively they found the courage to file a complaint about this professor. Now, more stories about the professor started coming out, and it was found that he had been doing this for many years. This professor was suspended after an inquiry. Actually, the University of Allahabad has had a women's advisory board, not exactly a committee against sexual harassment, but what is called as an advisory board. And the advisory board had been taking up these issues of sexual harassment in the university, and later on this women's advisory board was also disbanded, and one member committee, that is a sexual harassment internal complaints committee, has been put in place now. So, the major reason why such incidents are common in institutions of higher learning is misuse of power. It is a well known fact that the number of marks that a student scores in the practical examination lies in the hands of the professor. Students are therefore very careful not to rub their teachers the wrong way, and generally they endeavor to keep them quite happy. Now, the power that rests in the hand of the teacher is sometimes misused. In the case of girls, it can and frequently does lead to forms of sexual harassment. Here, the institution has to be constantly alert about such incidents and keep a check on such people for the welfare of the institution as well as for the society at large. Nipping the problem in the bud is always the better idea. Prompt reprimands also serve as deterrents to those who might be so inclined and think that they will never get caught. Now, the second case comes from the IIIT. Let us take the second case from Allahabad that took place in a premium IT institute known as the IIIT, where an M.Tech student, after her final examinations, complained that her project in charge was sexually harassing her. And her complaint was as follows. She was feeling that a kind of spider's web was being woven around her. I never planned to work under Mr. X. This Mr. X is the supervisor. Now asked him for any favor. Mr. X is like a spider who weaves a web round you and waits for the perfect time to attack. I wanted to work under some other faculty, but Mr. X called me after the class and told me that he had a good topic for research and that he finds me suitable for the work on that topic because of my grades and my understanding about the topic. So, in this way, he somehow influenced the girl student to come and work under him, and this is how she says that he knit a web around her. His level of harassment was gradually increasing. It included phone calls at late nights, calling me to his residence, making me sit in his chamber without reason, patting me on my shoulder, staring at my private parts. Before leaving for the summer break, he even threatened me by saying that I should be prepared to be crucified if I don't agree to his terms in July after this summer break. Now, talking to some friends, I came to know about some other victims of his harassment. I may have forgiven him, but to my surprise, he has been doing this for the past many years with other students as well. These students approached me and they appealed to fight for justice. I fought, and after a long fight, he was actually terminated. The third case is from the Harishchandra Research Institute of Allahabad, where some leading and renowned scientists of world fame like Professor Ashok Singh Sen have been there. Here, the professor in charge of the summer internship program used to harass the girls when they were about to leave the institute. He used to send pornographic material along with academic material, and he would invite them even for dinner. The students did not give in to his demands, and then he would try and torment them mentally. So, here is an excerpt from a student's email to the Sexual Harassment Committee of the HRI. I feel I have been sexually harassed and verbally abused through text. I regret not being courageous enough to lodge this complaint earlier. He was always over insistent about going to the city, for me to accompany him and for eating out. There have been multiple instances where he has talked inappropriately, whether it be in the office or it be in the HRI bus, and this was quite embarrassing for me and very difficult to deal with. He would try to even dictate my personal choices and would stop cooperating academically if I did not abide by them. He harassed me by sending mails during early February, claiming that I was not academically efficient, and this he had somehow realized at the end of my stay. I came to know that he has done something similar with other female students in the department as well. So, what actually is happening is that a lot of creative energy of the women is wasted in dealing with these kind of situations, going and filing reports, coming and deposing before the Sexual Harassment Committee, and then waiting for the result to come out. All that sorts of dips into your energy and also gives a lot of mental stress. The worst part of these cases is that a lot of creative energy of the young girls is wasted. All of them keep silent for fear of spoiling their careers. Their bodily integrity and their self-respect is attacked. Such criminal acts are especially harmful because on the one hand, we see the number of girls in STEM, that is science, technology, engineering and medicine, is actually very much less than it should be, and the government is trying very hard to encourage women and girls to join these areas. On the other hand, when they do join these fields after crossing so many barriers and hurdles, what they face is this kind of harassment. So, there are some points which need to be noted here. One is that it seems that these complaints are just the tip of the problem, and the prevalence of sexual harassment at the workplace vis-a-vis women in STEM is almost pervasive. Certain common characteristics manifest themselves, as are evident in the 3 cases which we have just quoted. The actions of the teachers go unreported for quite a long time. Every student thinks that her case is an isolated case and then keeps silent about it, and this goes on worsening the situation, and this problem becomes sort of invisible. So, the student is progressively distressed and disturbed, and the victims rarely complain about these issues. Often there are manifestations and signs that something is wrong, but no one really notices what is happening on the ground level, or the incidents are many times trivialized. For example, you will notice the colleagues talking as if these incidents keep happening most of the time and they need not be reported. In all 3 different cases of the 3 institutions, the harassment has been going on for many years, and many young women have suffered in silence with a lot of mental torment. Sexism in science may be a multi-layered and in many shades, but the most blatant and common manifestation is sexual harassment at the workplace. Now, sometimes we see that the male teachers are aware of the misdemeanors of their erring colleagues, but there is a misplaced sense of solidarity and loyalty which prevents them from speaking out. Now, so and so is my friend, or so and so is a colleague, and how do I talk about him, are the kind of things that people feel. At other times, the guilty teacher has carefully built some kind of a reputation of being very clean and above board in these matters, and people who even know about such cases are not ready to believe the allegations against him. So, recently we saw something called a decency pledge being taken, and this was initiated by a former Uber engineer whose name is Katie Benner. She detailed a pattern of sexual harassment at the company level. The accounts of various other entrepreneurs only corroborate and underscore how sexual harassment in the startup ecosystem is pervasive and ingrained. Looking at this, several of the Silicon Valley's top venture capitalists and technologists, including Reid Hoffman, have found that investors have to actually sign a decency pledge. And what is this decency pledge? It is something which everybody has to sign. Everybody who is working there has to sign that they are going to follow certain norms as regards their behavior with women colleagues. But we don't know how much this decency pledge will help. It of course, does bring the problem out of the closet and out into the open, and it is being discussed. This is a positive change, and a positive change that is happening and slowly increasing is that more and more women are coming out and now speaking up against such cases of sexual harassment. They are ready to talk publicly and they are ready to file complaints, though they know that they have to pay a very heavy price for their actions. The most revolutionary gain for the Indian women was the passing of the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act of 2013. This became effective from 9 December 2013. This act is actually the result of a long history of women's efforts, women's struggles, you can say. The details of the act are all available online, and therefore, there is no need to repeat them here in this module. However, it is worthwhile still to enumerate certain parts of the act. One positive aspect is that sexual harassment is defined in very clear and unambiguous terms. Now, what exactly constitutes sexual harassment has to be known before you file a complaint. Sexual harassment means any one or more of the following acts of behavior, whether it is directly or it is by implication. So, the first one is physical contact and advances. The second is a demand or request for sexual favors. The third is making sexually colored remarks. Then the fourth is sharing pornography or any other unwanted physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct or behavior of sexual nature. After the passing of this act, the number of registered cases rose substantially, and in many cases action was also taken. The most important case in the recent past, that is in 2015, was that of the ex-TERI, that is the Energy and Research Institute Director R.K. Pachauri. Most of the complaints against Pachauri were after the team headed by him had won the Nobel Prize. A 1400-page long charge sheet has been filed against him, in which there are allegations of stalking, intimidation, and mainly sexual harassment. So, the recommendations that we would want to highlight here are: every campus needs a gender sensitization program in the orientation program and a zero tolerance towards sexual harassment cases. Some other suggestions to prevent sexual harassment can be that committees which are formed, the internal complaints committees, actually should be formed with gender sensitive people. Otherwise, it has no value. The head of the institution also should be responsible to ensure a very safe environment for women, and in case they fail, then other methods like dialing some helpline numbers or approaching the committees at the city, at the state level, those can be thought of. Also, every main building, corner, canteen or public place inside the institution should have some billboards which display zero tolerance towards sexual harassment, and the phone numbers and email IDs of committee members should be there prominently displayed, and drop boxes should be there where women can drop in a sexual harassment case without being identified. Now, gender sensitization programs, videos and slideshows also should be held from time to time, at least once in a month. Justice should be done without the victim's name coming out into the open. Many times it so happens that because of a lot of gossip, people come to know the name of the victim, and it becomes almost impossible for the victim to work in the institution after the case has been made public. If we don't work towards this, then the old theory of a 19th century social reformer would come true, that girls should study home science and maths is only for boys. Another aspect that needs to be addressed as a priority in these institutions is the question of parenthood. We have to change our mindsets and stop seeing the responsibility of nurturing or bringing up a child exclusively as that of the woman. There is an old African saying, in raising a child, the whole village works. How fair then is it that society puts the whole burden of nurturing and caring of a baby on one partner, the woman? How will we perform an egalitarian and emancipated society when half of the adult population's creative potential is lost in child rearing? A woman should not need to choose between the career and the family, just as a man does not have to do. Now, we think the way out is joint parenting. With both parents working, it is indeed a social loss if one partner is required to give up her career in order to raise children. For this reason, work and family responsibilities both need to be shared so that both can continue to be useful members of society through their professions. Thus, we can say that when a couple, especially the woman, takes a decision for parenthood, the career in science should not be jeopardized. Unfortunately, the reality on the ground is quite discouraging for women. Women are opting for college education in large numbers. Each year, their performances get better on the average, and frequently they are better than the men. But very few women are able to reach high scientific position. Their career graph declines after marriage and after motherhood. Why is it so? And what can be done at the institutional level to address this problem? Thanks to our foremothers and their long history of women's movement, maternity leave has become a reality today. There is a 6-month maternity leave for women now. But we are also thinking about something called paternity leave. We need paternity leave as well. If 6 months of paternity leave is added to 6 months of maternity leave, the child would get the nurturing for its crucial first year. Then paternity leave would also break some kind of a stereotype that child nurturing can only be done by women. So, child nurturing then will be done by fathers as well. In fact, they will learn to nurture children. Now, there is the facility for child care leave. CCL for 2 years is already available in central government services and in many state governments as well. But it would be better if it could be extended to both parents. In this way, it would serve the important purpose of not leaving the women behind in their work and progress. It would break the stereotypes that women are always on leave either because of child sickness or something else, like for example, children's exams or caring for the elderly, often the parents of the husband himself. So, this will involve a paradigm shift in the social perception and the way we look at parenting, and it will move it from being just a woman's job to becoming a parent's job. To overcome this hurdle, we need to work towards making institutions such where women do not have to worry about their safety, about food and about a good environment for the growth of their children. Institutions also need flexi hours and holidays. Since our workplaces are designed with patriarchal mindsets, flexi hours will give women more time and space. Similarly, workplaces with good canteens would also help saving time and mental energy of both the father and the mother. Though many workplaces have canteens, but nutritious food which is inexpensive is hard to find. Now, Lerner writes in her book on women and history, Creation of Patriarchy, the fact that women bear children is due to sex, that women nurture children is due to gender, which is a cultural construct. It has been gender which has been chiefly responsible in fixing women's place in society. So, the point to be emphasized here is that a cultural construct of society might take decades to change, but institutions can be changed much more readily, and this would ensure that more women choose the scientific field and grow as scientists. In the long run, we must teach our younger generation that a woman's, or anyone for that matter, body is not a commodity, and neither is a woman herself. Dignity and respect is the right of everybody, and as a society, we should try to move in that direction. This dream can be fulfilled if people with scientific temperaments can show the way, as the rest of the society are much behind them. Then the 21st century institutions without sexism will give way to nurture young girls as leaders in science and society. Once women will lead, sexual harassment will also take a back seat, and ultimately it might even disappear. Thank you.